Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're tackling a question many of you have asked about IAC. Is now really a good time to buy? It's a company with, well, a pretty diverse portfolio of online businesses. We've gathered all the key info, financials, market talk, the whole picture to help you sort it out. And hey, before we jump in, if this analysis helps you out, please hit subscribe, like the video, maybe leave a comment. Also, if there's another company you want us to look into, just drop the name below. We do read those.
Absolutely. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources on IAC. We're talking financials, market performance, recent news, potential catalysts, everything. The goal here is to give you a clear, unbiased look at what's going on so you can figure out what it means for your own decisions.
Right. So we'll break down the business fundamentals. It's basic health. Then, what the charts are telling us. We'll cover the latest buzz from Wall Street and look ahead at things that could actually move the stock price. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the basics then.
Right.
What exactly is IAC? For anyone not familiar, it sometimes feels like this sprawling collection of online stuff.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. At its core, IAC acts like an incubator for digital businesses. Think of it like a holding company. They take controlling stakes in all sorts of online sectors: media, home services, digital marketplaces, you name it. What's really interesting, though, is their biggest asset, Dotdash Meredith. It's actually one of the top 5 digital publishers in the U.S., but, and this is a big but, it's seen as being operationally challenged right now. Growth is slow, organic growth, that is, and margins are under pressure compared to, the pure play leaders out there.
Operationally challenged. Wow, that's quite a term for their biggest piece. So, okay, diverse portfolio sounds good for risk, maybe.
Yeah.
But challenge isn't a key area. So what do the actual numbers say? How have they been performing recently? Growing? Shrinking?
Well, looking at the latest financials for IAC, it's a bit mixed. Definitely shows the company in transition. For fiscal year 2024, revenue hit $4.145 billion. That's up a single-digit increase from $3.985 billion the year before, and that growth mostly came from Dotdash, Meredith, and Care.com. However, the net earnings, that tells a different story, more cautious. FY 2024 actually saw a net loss of $30 million.
A loss, wow.
Yeah, it's a big swing from a net income of $46 million in FY 2023. Gross margins, they hovered around 30%, but they're facing pressure from increased marketing spend and investments in growth. That really weighed on profitability.
Revenue up, but a net loss. Sounds like maybe they're investing heavily for the future, right? But maybe hurting short-term profits.
No.
What about their overall financial health? Like cash, debt, can they sustain this kind of investment?
Yeah, their financial health it's like walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
On one hand, as of December 31st, 2024, they had a decent cash pile, $1.13 billion in cash and equivalents.
Okay.
But total debt stands at $2.22 billion. And if you look at their net debt to EBITDA ratio, basically how long it takes profits to pay off debt, it's about 2.8 times. That's considered moderately high. It could restrict how flexible they are with capital, like for acquisitions or big investments, compared to leaner competitors.
Right. Less wiggle room.
Exactly. And free cash flow. In FY 2024, they generated $145 million. That's actually down from $213 million in 2023, largely due to, again, higher working capital needs and that increased ad spend.
So it's this fascinating balance, isn't it? Enough cash, maybe not to panic, but enough debt to feel a bit constrained. It really paints that picture of a company juggling growth plans with its current financial reality. Okay, so the fundamentals tell a story of a company navigating some strong currents. What's the market itself saying? Let's look at the technical charts. Does the price action line up with this sort of transitional picture? What's the recent trading been like?
Yeah, the technical picture for IAC really suggests a stock that's, well, range-bound, kind of stuck in a holding pattern, almost waiting for a clear reason to move one way or the other.
Yeah.
Over the last 4 weeks or so, it traded between $33.50 and $37.25 a share. Closed recently, around $36.62. Key levels to watch. We're seeing pretty solid support around $33. That's also its low for the year so far.
Right? A floor, maybe?
Potentially. And on the upside, resistance seems to be around $38.75. That was a recent swing high back in early August. One thing to note, volatility has picked up. You see bigger daily swings, often right after they release earnings, which tells you the market is pretty sensitive to their financial updates. So if you're listening, those earnings calls, they're high stakes. They can move your position fast.
Right, bouncing in a range, maybe building energy. Do the indicators like moving averages or momentum suggest a breakout is coming? or just more sideways action?
The indicators really just reinforce that range-bound feeling.
Mm,
The price is currently above its 20-day moving average, which is around $35.75. Technically, that's slightly bullish. Yeah, but it lacks any strong momentum behind it. So the short-term trend feels more neutral than anything. If you look at the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, it's at 51. Right in the middle, neither overbought nor oversold.
flat.
Pretty much. And the NCD, another momentum gauge, is also flat. No clear signal either way. So overall, the technicals are saying range-bound, waiting for a catalyst.
Yeah.
Which brings up the big question, right? What could be that catalyst? What could spark a move?
Exactly. Speaking of catalysts, let's dive into the recent news and the general feeling around IAC. What's been happening on the street? Any big headlines or shifts in how analysts see things?
There have been a few key things recently. Back in August 2025, Meredith reported weaker margins. That led IAC to revise its guidance down. And as a result, Wall Street analysts cut their estimates for IAC's fiscal year 2025.
Not great.
No. Then in September, Goldman Sachs kept their hold rating, price target, at $38. They basically said mixed execution but attractive digital assets.
Faint praise, maybe.
Kind of. Also, back in August, several analysts pointed out the uncertainty around IAC's strategy, especially after those M&A talks for Care.com fell through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no significant upgrades recently. Sentiment is just mixed. Very mixed.
So analysts are cautious, maybe cautiously optimistic at best, lots of wait and see. What about insiders? Are the execs buying or selling? And what's the chatter like among retail investors online?
Good question. On the insider front, we saw 2 Form 4 filings in August 25. Those are public filings when insiders trade. There's a small buy from a director, Eigenman Phillip, but also a sale by Edgett Sean. So, again, mixed signals from leadership.
Not exactly a strong vote of confidence either way.
Right, and social media sentiment. Mostly neutral. Not a lot of excitement from retail investors. Mentions ticked up a bit after earnings, sure, but there's no sustained buzz or strong conviction building there.
Okay, that's interesting. So despite the sort of choppy waters and neutral feelings from analysts and retail, we did see some institutional investors, the so-called smart money, actually increasing their stake. What do you make of that? Seems counterintuitive.
It's a really key point, and it makes more sense when you zoom out a bit over the last few months. In August 2025, for instance, Brandywine Global Investment Management significantly boosted its IAC stake, up 13.9% in Q1. That suggests some renewed institutional interest, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Also in August, IAC reported its Q2 earnings. Now, revenue showed a big year-over-year decline, 38.2%, which sounds
Not all
bad.
bad.
But earnings per share, EPS, actually beat analyst expectations by a mile, came in at $2.57 versus forecast of a loss of 30 cents.
Whoa, okay, how did that happen?
That's the puzzle. Analysts did lower price targets after that, but the overall consensus rating stayed a moderate buy with an average target around $47.92. Going back a bit further, July 2025, the stock's technical outlook was downgraded from buy to hold accumulate. Why? Increased volatility in that wide trading range.
Right, the range we talked about.
Exactly. And back in June 2025, there was a technical sell signal that knocked the price down about 6% from recent highs. But, and this is important for the longer view, the long-term moving average kept signaling buy, so that supports a longer-term accumulation idea for some investors.
Okay, so it really feels like this tug of war between short-term pain and maybe some longer-term potential value. Given all these conflicting signals, what should investors be watching for? Near-term, long-term. What are the potential catalysts that could finally push IAC out of this range?
Yeah, there are definitely several things on the horizon that could move the needle. Short term, keep an eye on October 30th, 2025. That's the Q3 earnings release. That'll be crucial. Will they show stabilization or further decline in revenue and margins?
Big day.
Huge. Also, September 20th, Institutional Portfolio Disclosure Day. That can show if big funds are buying or selling. September 27th, ETF quarterly rebalancing. Sometimes that forces buying or selling and causes short-term moves. Looking towards year-end, November 25th, there's a holiday commerce update. Gives a clue about sentiment heading into 2026. And then the official Q4 earnings report is expected in November 2025.
Okay, lots of dates.
Yep. And beyond scheduled stuff, always watch for potential asset sales or restructuring news. Management keeps talking about portfolio optimization.
Which could mean anything.
Pretty much. And of course, broader trends in ad tech and media will directly hit Meredith, given its size in the portfolio. Then, thinking longer term, those really big potential catalysts, M&A is always a possibility. Management says they're open to selling parts off or maybe buying new digital businesses.
Yeah.
That could reshape the whole company. Macro conditions, obviously. Interest rates. How much consumers are spending on advertising. That affects all their companies. And finally, regulation. There's growing scrutiny on tech and media platforms. That could create headwinds or maybe even tailwinds, depending on how IAC adapts.
So lots of potential triggers, dates, trends, strategic moves. What about rumors? Anything speculative floating around that might not be on the official calendar but could still shake things up?
Oh yeah, there's always market chatter. Speculation just keeps going about a potential asset spinoff or selling off parts to, unlock shareholder value from that diverse mix.
It's a breakup idea.
Exactly. There are also rumors they might seek a big strategic partnership or joint venture, maybe in digital media or e-commerce. That would definitely be a game changer. Some chatter also points to maybe activist investors getting involved, pushing for cost cuts, restructuring, maybe even changes at the top. And of course, if Q3 earnings show early signs of revenue stabilizing or margins recovering, you could see analysts start revising their earnings estimates upwards. That would be a big positive catalyst.
Okay, it sounds like there are plenty of potential sparks for IAC. But every investment has risks. What are the key dangers here? What could derail this?
Definitely risks on both sides. Stock-specific execution risk is a big one. If they fail to turn around Meredith or can't figure out how to make money from their smaller holdings, that's a problem.
Right.
We mentioned the high debt and relatively limited free cash flow compared to competitors. That limits their agility. And just the sheer complexity of the portfolio plus that perceived uncertainty in strategy, it leads to investors' skepticism, which holds back the valuation.
Makes sense.
Then you have the broader market and sector risks. Digital advertising. It's cyclical. It goes up and down with the economy. Competition is intense. They're fighting huge platforms like Google and Meta for ad dollars and eyeballs.
Tough fight.
Very. And finally, there's always technology disruption risk. Consumer habits change. New platforms emerge. Could their legacy brands become less relevant? It's a constant threat.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground today on IAC. If you're listening and trying to get the essence of this, what's the bottom line? What does all this mean for deciding whether to invest right now?
Okay, let's boil it down. If we connect everything, our overall rating for IAC right now lands at a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, right down the middle.
Exactly. And here's why. IAC, despite being this incubator, isn't just juggling assets. It's really navigating massive industry shifts. The challenge isn't just executing better. It's almost like adapting its core DNA for a new digital age, especially with Meredith kind of struggling for relevance in this fast-changing content world. So yes, they have this diverse digital portfolio, but it's dealing with weak organic growth, shrinking margins, and just strategic uncertainty in key areas. The chart shows no clear direction, lots of volatility, no obvious catalyst right now. Management talks about M&A or selling things off, which might unlock value, but you can't predict that, and it's not happening tomorrow.
Plus, that debt and limited free cash flow, it really ties their hands compared to others. A 5 out of 10. Pretty lukewarm. But isn't that exactly where some investors look for value? Couldn't those challenges, that portfolio optimization talk, actually be the opportunity for someone willing to take a risk?
That's the core tension. You hit it right there. For short-term trading, based on the current picture, IAC is not compelling. The price is likely to stay pretty neutral or just volatile until some clear strategic catalyst emerges.
Okay.
However, you could argue it's a speculative long-term buy. But specifically for contrarian investors, people looking for deep undervaluation or betting on that breakup potential. But, and this is crucial, that comes with elevated risk, given all the challenges we've discussed. So for you, the listener, if you're looking for steady, predictable growth, this might not be it right now. But if you believe management can unlock that value, or that some event will force it, it's a different kind of opportunity, requiring patience and, frankly, a strong stomach.
Got it. So, summing up, IAC's path towards the end of the year really hinges on those earnings, what management actually does about optimizing the portfolio, and just the broader flow of the economy in their sector. Analysts and big institutions are watching closely. Potential corporate events are always lurking. It keeps the situation very dynamic. Could go up, could go down. What's your main takeaway from digging into IAC today? It's clear they have some attractive digital pieces, but wow, it's such a complex mix of potential and problems. Really need to watch execution and market shifts closely.
Indeed. And it raises a fascinating question for you, our listener. In a world where companies are becoming these complex ecosystems, constantly changing, what metrics do you rely on most? How do you evaluate a business that's always reinventing itself, especially when its biggest asset, like Meredith here, is also maybe its biggest headache? It really challenges how we even define a core business these days.
We hope this exploration has given you a clearer view of IAC. Remember, understanding the why behind the numbers and the headlines is always key. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring these ideas and, as always, do your own research before making any decisions. We'll be back soon with another look into the world of investing.